positive for the virus. Now the cruise line says another 10 have the virus, including those 2 Canadians. Princess Cruises says the infected passengers will be taken off the ship and transported to local hospitals. There are more than 3,400 passengers and crew on board. A total of 251 are Canadian. And in Hong Kong, 3,000 people aboard this cruise ship are in quarantine. Several crew members reported having symptoms associated with the coronavirus. We don't know yet whether there are any Canadians on board. For now, the ship remains docked inside Victoria Harbour. And that's where we find the CBC's Chris Brown in Hong Kong. Chris, welcome to you. And tonight we welcome viewers on Facebook.
Carol, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. And we're welcoming viewers on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. There is a little bit of a delay between us, Chris. I'm sorry for stepping on your toes. Let's begin with the scene in Hong Kong. It's just past 9 o'clock in the morning there. You are right in front of that cruise ship that is quarantined. What's the latest?
Well, it's the world dream, as you say. We're right here on Victoria Harbour. This is the Kai Tak cruise ship terminal. Used to be, of course, the old runway here for Hong Kong's major airport, but now this is where all the cruise ships come in. So just have a quick look around before we get to some of the details. Pascal, our cameraman, will show you again right on the harbor. That's the island of Hong Kong over there, and we're in Kowloon right here. The ship pulled in here yesterday morning. The passengers were expecting to get off, much is the case, I'm sure, the ones in Japan were, but of course that hasn't happened in this situation with the cruise ships having infected passengers who got on board before they were showing symptoms. Really does seem to be emerging as one of the key stories, at least of this phase of the outbreak anyway, in Asia. So the exact number of people on board, we're actually not sure. We've been getting conflicting numbers. There could be 1,800 people, passengers, and 1,800 crew members, might be slightly less crew members. We don't have the exact information, but we do know they spent a fairly comfortable night on board last night. It is a cruise ship after all, but probably some worry as well, because there could be up to 30 crew members who might possibly have the coronavirus. We don't know. We do know that they experienced some kind of symptoms, fever and so forth. So we saw some ambulances yesterday. 3 of them pulled up, and some of the crew members got on board and they were taken away. And what we know from the company, in fact from passengers who called us last night, and they said that the captain has told them that those tests were being done on the crew members, and they should know today if they have coronavirus, and that's going to obviously go a long way to determining whether we have another situation like what we have in Japan with a whole bunch of people that could have contracted this virus. The other thing, Carol, I should say is that the crew members would have got the virus on their last sailing from as it was going to Vietnam. This ship came back and dropped off a whole bunch of people, 250 people from Hong Kong. So now they're also running around trying to track down all of the former passengers as well, because that obviously is their major concern. If these crew members were sick, well, they pass it maybe to the passengers, and who knows where it is here now.
Yeah, and now we know, Chris, that 2 Canadians aboard a quarantine cruise ship in Yokohama, Japan. That's just about 30 kilometers southwest of Tokyo. 2 Canadians testing positive for the coronavirus today. Any concerns about traveling on cruise ships amidst this outbreak?
Well, we know that they have actually now shut, almost literally within an hour or so after that, they've shut this cruise ship terminal, so there will not be any more people coming into Hong Kong by sea. So that's one immediate measure they've done. The other thing that the Hong Kong government did, which is a fairly major move, is they instituted a quarantine on anyone. It doesn't matter if you're from Hong Kong or you're from the mainland. Anyone coming in here is now going to have a 14-day quarantine. So think about that. I mean, the implications for the economy here with such a thick border, I mean, it's really reduced to emergency travel only. So a pretty big deal. Specifically for cruise ships, obviously probably not a great idea to take a cruise. This particular ship, they've already canceled the next 2 or 3, and I've seen other notices that different cruise companies have done the same thing.
All right, Chris and I are taking your questions tonight on the coronavirus, so you can always send us your questions on Facebook Live and YouTube, Twitter as well. In fact, Eileen on Twitter is asking, I have family in Hong Kong. They are Canadian citizens. Does Canada recommend volunteer evacuation of citizens, including Hong Kong, or just mainland China, Chris?
Well, I can tell you we're still here, and we've been following these advisories hourly, as it were. So to our knowledge, there is no advisory, no voluntary evacuation or anything like that for Hong Kong. There are still flights from all around the world landing at the airport here. I believe only one country, the Philippines, has sort of stopped all flights from coming in, and that's having a huge impact, for example, on domestic workers, caregivers, nannies, and so forth. The papers here have been full of stories about families who suddenly have no daycare for their kids. But in a more broad way, there are no restrictions, and that's obviously what the Hong Kong government is hoping for. They really don't want to be lumped in with mainland China again. That's another reason for bringing in that quarantine, Carol.
All right. In the meantime, we have a question from Ainsley. Take a listen.
Basically just ask how people are doing over there, like what, is the morale like, how people feel about it on the ground over there especially.
Chris, what's it like?
I'm always leery about making generalizations about a city of 7.5 million people, but I can say that everybody that we've talked to expresses a general level of anxiety. And the closer you were, I think, to the SARS outbreak of 2003, the higher your level of anxiety is. We were in a complex yesterday that was right at the epicenter of SARS, and they lost dozens and dozens of people because the virus was carried through pipes and whatnot in a building. And there it was very high. We've talked to people on waiting in line for masks. Again, it really is quite a scene here. We've been showing pictures of a lineup of 10,000 people yesterday here in Kowloon waiting for masks. We just drove for blocks and blocks and blocks. So I think those scenes speak to the level of worry here. Certainly not a panic, but certainly anxiety.
Our next question comes from Papa on YouTube, who asks, have they identified what animal or source it's from yet?
Kind of a tough question for me to answer here. The answer is I'm not 100% sure. We've all heard the stories about bats and so forth, but really the focus at this point isn't so much on the origin and the transmission, at least as far as these communities, cities on the periphery. It really is trying to deal with the with stopping the transmission right here, right at the border, so it doesn't go any further.
Yeah, WHO, I just checked their website, and they said they still have not determined where it has come from. Our next question comes from Diane on Facebook, who's asking, why was this cruise not canceled?
Well, that's a good question. The papers here this morning have also been talking to passengers on this ship who were also asking that very same question. But it does seem to be that this incubation period was quite a long time. It was 14 days, and that the people who eventually became sick were not showing any symptoms of being sick, when they were on that previous cruise. Was it predictable that something like this might happen? Maybe. It does seem like cruise ships seem to be at the epicenter of a lot of these outbreaks because everyone's in such close conditions. But on the other hand, we talked to a guy yesterday who just really wanted to go on his cruise. So obviously there was also pressure on the cruise companies, certainly from an economic point of view, to keep business going, and that is one of the major concerns here. I can tell you, from a tourism point of view, this city's pretty much dead. There's hardly anyone visiting. The hotels are empty. They're shutting down, portions of hotels and so forth. We were up to the Lookout the other day at the peak, and yes, there were some locals, some people from Hong Kong there, but really they were just folks who were getting out of their house, trying to, get some fresh air, get a break, because they were getting a bit stir crazy because they were told to kind of stay inside. So, there is a push and pull here from trying to, act as normal as you can, trying not to kill the economy, but also taking precautions.
Yeah, for sure. The auto supply chain is interrupted. Businesses have been told to stay home in China, especially in Hubei province. Take a listen to our next question, Chris from Jabber.
My only concern would be whether those who are affected and those who are showing symptoms, whether they're receiving adequate medical attention. Because I was reading on the news that a lot of, especially in the epicenter Wuhan, like they are at breaking point, like there is not enough capacity to accommodate everyone who is showing symptoms. Yeah, what steps are being taken on the ground to alleviate that?
Chris, how are health authorities responding to the spike in these cases? And I'll mention again, the total new coronavirus cases from the China Health Commission is at 3,694 tonight. New cases.
Right. I think here these discussions are ongoing about what to do and how to handle and where to house people who are being quarantined. Hong Kong is interesting because it does have this very significant land border with China, but it also has this ability to kind of sort of stay separate. So what they're doing here, in many ways, you could look at as what other countries, perhaps even parts of Canada, might do if they start to see the same kind of escalations as what we've seen here, because in the last couple of days, the newer cases that they've had in Hong Kong, they can't trace directly to people who visited Wuhan, nor can they trace the infections to an immediate family member who went there as well. So they were clearly, it seems anyway, community transmissions. So as that happens, you're faced with a situation where you may need to put people for extended periods of time. So what they've done, given that tourism is so slow, they've resorted to using holiday resorts in some cases to put people, at least that's what the plans are. But obviously not everybody wants to have a quarantine in their backyard. So we've also seen a lot of pushback as well from different communities. Some of it actually even got violent a few days ago about sort of housing people who have the coronavirus nearby.
Yeah,
Carol.
I can't imagine, looking at that ship behind you, thinking about the one in Japan, being stuck in a small ship, right? In a small, not in a small ship, but in a small room on a ship for 2 weeks and not being allowed to connect with anybody else. I mean, hats off to them for having to go through that.
Yeah, for sure. Again, there probably are worse places to be stuck than a cruise ship, but it is no doubt disconcerting, especially for those folks in Japan. We saw the pictures yesterday, taking people off the ship by motor launch, putting them into the ambulances and taking them away. And you mentioned right off the top, 2 Canadians among the 20 that have been tested, and those tests are still ongoing.
All right, the CBC's Chris Brown in Hong Kong. Chris, we know you'll continue to help answer questions on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you for joining us tonight. Coming up, Donald Trump is off.
So let's reset here. My name is Chris Brown with CBC News, and we're on the side of the cruise ship. This is the World Dream. And it is docked here. Everyone thought they'd be home, waking up in their own beds this morning, but instead they're stuck on the cruise ship. Let me just remove this from my ear so I can't hear Carol talking to me anymore, and we'll continue taking some questions about what's happened here in Hong Kong and why it might be relevant to people back in Canada. I'll just get Pascal, our cameraman, to have a quick look around again. Just to show you where we are. This is the World Dream, pulled in here yesterday with about 30 or so crew members who might have the coronavirus. They were showing symptoms of it when the ship pulled in. They could have contracted it from a previous cruise about 10, 12 days ago. So now many people, 30 or so, are being tested, and they've taken 3 off to hospital, and we'll see. We'll see how they do today. We're going to be getting the results back. So let's go to some of your questions here. And this one we'll start with from Raymond Chan. Have they closed down the border between Hong Kong and China? Well, that's Raymond's question. And I'm just going to ask Corinne to come in and flip this off because it's it's flipping around. The answer is they have not actually closed down the border, although effectively you could say they have. And the distinction is important. Healthcare workers here have been on strike for the last this is the fourth day now. Up to 7,000 of them have been having pickets outside of their hospitals where they work. And this is what they had been calling for. They're very concerned about two things. First, that their hospitals could get overwhelmed if people from the mainland come over. And the second all is that they feel that that is the only way to, protect Hong Kong from the potential of a major influx. So that's what they wanted. Carrie Lam had, the chief executive here, had held off doing that, but then yesterday, once this cruise ship situation came in, they did come very close to that with this 14-day quarantine. So certainly goods and services, goods can come back and forth. The main bridges are still open, but really in practice, the only people who are going to come here are ones that have an emergency. Where will they stay for this quarantine? They may have to stay in their houses, at home. They may have to stay in one of these holiday camps that the government here has set up. We're supposed to get some of these details from Carrie Lam a little bit later on today. Let's go to another question now. This one from Julie Harland on Facebook. She's asking, have the reported deaths been those with compromised immunities? And how is this more concerning than influenza that kills thousands of people every year? The answer to that is, I'm just looking because we seem to have an audio issue. I'm just going to ask Pascal, our camera guy. They seem they're getting double audio right now. Maybe it's possible to turn one of the channels down. As far as we know here, the people who have been sickened, and we know most of the details come from a case of a 39-year-old man who contracted it. He took a train into Wuhan, was there for only about 3 days, came back here, began showing some symptoms, but then just 5 days later, he died. So this was obviously a striking case, only a 39-year-old man, but we also know that he had diabetes. So by and large, 80% or so of the people who have been killed by this coronavirus have been older, or they've had some kind of pre-existing health condition. And how is it more concerning than the influenza that kills thousands of people every year? Well, again, influenza, it does strike older people, people who have vulnerable immune systems, but there's also a vaccine, and that is what we don't have in this case, and what may indeed take months to come up with. Let's go to a question here from Kingsley Sutton on Facebook is asking, what role does China's human rights and living conditions play in regards to the rapid spread of the virus? That's a difficult one to answer here in Hong Kong. I'm going to, answer a slightly different question, and that is, what role does the political dynamic here play in terms of Hong Kong's response to it? And the answer to that is that this is already a deeply divided city. We've already seen all summer long lots of street protests, very violent protests. Our crew was here for them. We know how much pressure Carrie Lam, the chief executive here, was under for those, and we're seeing some of that again here in terms of the response that the Hong Kong government has done. Obviously opposition, as I mentioned, from the healthcare workers, but also a general, I would say, lack of confidence from people who were on as part of those street protests this summer in terms of how the government has been responding. We've also heard the other side of things that, well, perhaps maybe if Carrie Lam and the Hong Kong government handle this well, that may go some way to restoring some of the confidence that people have in Hong Kong's government. Obviously, the situation's still unfolding. My name's Chris Brown. I'm here with our crew from CBC Moscow. We've flown in to Hong Kong. We've been here for the week. This is the World Dream cruise ship. It parked here yesterday morning with about 3,600 people on board. Some of them, we don't know how many, possibly 30 crew members, might have the coronavirus. It's a big might because the tests are still going on. 3 of them were tested yesterday. There's more tests going on today. But the arrival of this ship has sparked a major change in policy for Hong Kong, causing a quarantine now for anyone coming over from the lower mainland and further border closures. Let's go back to some of your questions on Facebook Live. Does the virus exist on inanimate objects and outside the human body, and for how long? This is a question from Severino Planas. Hope I got that right, on Facebook. It's a good question. Yes, it does exist on inanimate objects. Now, you know, one of the things that strikes you here when you come is that absolutely everybody, except for me right now, because I'm talking, is wearing a mask. And so what we've been told by our medical people is that the mask actually is most effective because it stops you from touching things that might have, you know, the droplets on it and then touching your face. So this appears to be one of the major things that the mask can do. So you talk about inanimate objects. Yes, these droplets exist. We don't know how long they exist for. We don't know how long they can live, but we do know that wearing a mask can help prevent infection from that. Less so for simply breathing on people, but really for touching your face and passing on the droplets that way. Thanks for your question. Let's go to Carolyn Rahal on Facebook. Do passengers on both quarantine ships have to remain in their cabins for 14 days? The answer to that appears to be no. We've seen some video. We had one of the gentlemen we talked to yesterday send us some pictures about what's been going on, and it certainly appears that everybody has been, you know, eating. We believe they set up a buffet. They're not actually having crew members serve them dinner, so they're going to have to sort of get it themselves. But we also saw pictures of people walking around, washing their hands. You know, I see the water slide and things like that are functioning. I can't imagine they're doing much of that, but it does appear to some extent anyways that there is business as usual. On the ship that's off Japan, we understand that the internet is being left on and that people will be able to surf the net. They'll be able to call home and talk to their families. So there won't be, you know, at least that kind of isolation, even though they obviously are physically isolated. Thanks for your question. Let's go to Karen Avery now. She's on YouTube and she asks, hi Chris, hello. If my son chooses to come home from Shanghai, how could he leave without having to do a quarantine? So if he's coming here to Hong Kong or coming to Canada through Hong Kong, the quarantine kicks in on Saturday. So if he comes now, you know, and that's why I think they gave people 3 or 4 days to kind of make travel plans who needed to get out, you should be fine. But after that, you may run into challenges. Of course, the Chinese airlines, many of them are still flying to North America, but many others aren't. Today, tomorrow, even American Airlines, we were talking to some pilots this morning, their last flights in and out of here are ending, but that's not so much because of health concerns, or because there's no capacity on these. There's simply no people that want to come, so the airlines are losing money. But as for your son, my understanding is that, you know, if he's coming through here, certainly come by Saturday. Nick Copernicus on YouTube, should I handle mail packages from China? Good question. I can tell you what we're doing here is we're washing all of our gear with Purell, right? We're making sure it's all clean as much as we can. Some people have gloves and so forth. But again, this comes back to the question of how long this virus lasts for out in the open. And that's still one of the questions that people are, you know, that the scientists and folks looking for a vaccine are trying to answer. So we don't know much more than that. But again, those are the best practices that we're handling here. Here's another question from Adam. How is food being transported and handled in a mass quarantine situation like this? So we're not quite in a mass quarantine situation, at least not here. And I can't really speak to what's happening in the Wuhan area. But for now, certainly I've seen photographs and video of people who are selling food here in terms of packaging, like store shopkeepers and so forth. Some of them are actually wiping off the packets and putting them up on the shelves, and they're advertising that they're doing that. Obviously, the hygiene is a huge part of trying to make people feel comfortable, make them feel safe. On the other hand, we've also seen runs of things. People have, been taking a run on masks. We saw 10,000 people lining up for masks yesterday. We've seen pictures of empty store shelves where there's no more toilet paper and so forth. So these concerns about how people are getting their daily supplies, be it food, be it things that are meant to help you stay clean, that's all obviously very top of mind. We'll go to Seymour Applebaum on Facebook. We're going to probably make Seymour's question the last one I think that we're going to do. And it is, how much of an impact is the medical workers' strike having? That's kind of a political analysis question. Carrie Lam the other day, before the strike, there were, I believe, 11 border crossings that were still open. After the strike started, within 48 hours, it was down to 3. So you can judge that from yourself. Did it make an impact? Clearly, I think one argument could be that the Hong Kong government is very, very concerned about public opinion. This, as I said, is an opportunity for them to show leadership, to reassure people, and perhaps recover some credibility, undo some of the political damage from these protests over the summer. So, one of the arguments could be is that yes, they were receptive to the strike and they shut the borders down. Obviously, it wasn't as much as a lot of the healthcare workers wanted. And even today, even with the much thicker border we have and with the quarantine, I've still seen comments from healthcare workers that it's not enough. But by any measure, they really do seem to be getting, if not 100%, 90% of what they're asking for. So that's it. We're going to wrap things up from the side of the World Dream cruise ship here in Hong Kong with Corinne Semenoff and Pascal Dumont. We've been chatting with you for the last half hour about what's happening in Hong Kong, about the situation on cruise ships here, the situation on cruise ships in Japan. A little later on today, we're going to learn more about the fate of these 3,600 or so people, and we'll learn just how long they might be having to stay on board this cruise ship. So, thanks for watching.